Be sure to follow us online for those stories and more. Also, we'll revisit a story from a few years ago in the case of former VistaCorp employee and cybercriminal Scott Lang. We'll discuss the fallout from the most recent Avengers conflict in Sokovia. The case of cybercriminal and self-proclaimed whistleblower Scott Lang, and made headlines for his choice to funnel a majority of the stolen money back to VistaCorp customers. The issue of more government control and transparency when it comes to our superpowered citizens is going to continue to be a hot-button topic, especially in the wake of what we all saw happen in that part of the world. Stating they had been robbing their own clients of millions. Transparency when it comes to our superpowered citizens.
The business world can be a harsh place, filled with difficult decisions.
We all know Dr. Pym is a legend in the tech community.
Hank has lived a very colorful life.
His rumored involvement with the government, and specifically S.H.I.E.L.D.
And as for the S.H.I.E.L.D. rumor, well, it's quite a rumor.
Well, I'm still in prison, so, bad.
The international cybersecurity and data storage conglomerate based in San Francisco. I reported on Tony Stark in Gulmira, and believe me, you're no Tony Stark.
And now I'm locked away from my family.
WHIH has been covering global news in detail for the past 2 decades. From the recent security breach at S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters to the earth-shattering events in Sokovia.
The question for me, Christine, isn't if or even should our heroes be allowed to operate independently. It's why shouldn't they?
What is the final cost of intervention from groups like the Avengers? Who do they answer to in the wake of their actions? Along with the actions of Steve Rogers and Tony Stark and others over the years, our superpowered advocates have intervened time and time again in international incidents to great effect. But who accounts for the devastation they leave behind? This week in our ongoing special report, we'll look back on the events in New York, D.C., Sokovia, asking you, the viewer, if the growing concern from governments around the world should see the Avengers submit to international oversight.
Discoveries are still being made in the massive cache of classified material released by former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Natasha Romanoff. And the leak clearly details how the organization known as Hydra was able to infiltrate the highest ranks of S.H.I.E.L.D. and had organized a massive conspiracy on the civilian population. Romanoff's actions, independent from oversight, saved us from what could have been a catastrophic outcome had Hydra been able to remain undiscovered.
I don't have a cool shield or a flying suit of armor, and I can't fight, but I can clean up.
They put their lives on the line to save us, you know, and not a lot of people would do that.
They do a lot of good, but innocent people had to pick up the pieces.
Routinely leave behind considerable and costly destruction to property during the course of their various exploits.
Tony Stark's got enough money to fix New York 10 times over.
Obviously, they should pay for it.
I was in New York during the invasion. Seeing what the Avengers did, I'm proud my tax dollars are helping with reconstruction.
Steve Rogers, Tony Stark, and others.
The heroic deeds of both Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson during the situation. It's certainly not as simple as superheroes are. But today, President Ellis was on hand to commemorate the massive.
You have to remember, President Ellis is first and foremost a politician. We will have President Ellis himself here to share his opinions. There are reports that the president has recently met with retired General Thaddeus Ross to discuss a potential appointment. The store meeting with General Ross basically confirms that. Has crossed the $1 trillion mark. Cost of the cleanup effort in Washington, D.C., New York City, and Sokovia.
Cleanup effort in Washington, D.C., following the destruction of the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters.
Bear some of the responsibility for the massive destruction and mayhem, and wonder if there is a more strategic plan to better manage their response for potential future events.
Have been effective in many regards, and you can't deny that.
Future responses are handled in a more disciplined manner.
The White House has always been very clear that those responsible for that incident have been neutralized thanks to Mr. Rogers and his colleagues. Cleanup effort in Washington, D.C. following the destruction of the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters.
Well, my appreciation for their efforts shouldn't be misconstrued as a blank check. Steve Rogers and others have done in the face of these attacks. My administration is exploring ways to create an official relationship with these heroes.
Due in large part to the tactical response of these heroes. But he recently appointed formerly retired General Thaddeus Ross as Secretary of State.
The general is no stranger to these types of incidents.
We have witnessed a series of catastrophic events that have threatened the safety of the entire planet. While these crises were resolved as the result of the noble actions of Steve Rogers, Tony Stark, and others, cities like Johannesburg, Seoul, and Washington, D.C. are still on the mend.
That have had severe repercussions. I am completely sensitive to the fear and concern that creates, and was instrumental in spearheading the response to the emergencies at both.
Christine, I'm a few yards away from where the conflict took place.
I've just been briefed on the developing situation in Lagos, Nigeria.
It's still chaotic. Several witnesses are confirming that members of the Avengers and unknown combatants were here at the time. Captain Rogers' involvement has been mentioned and corroborated. Some accounts indicate Sam Wilson and Natasha Romanoff, but nothing else definitive at this time. Brock Rumlow.
Well, given the extent of Rumlow's crimes,
Secretary Ross has contacted their president and assured him that we will do whatever it takes to support our friend and ally.
Now, Jackson, which Avengers were there exactly? Tony Stark?
My administration will work directly with the United Nations to find the people responsible for this catastrophe and hold them accountable to the full extent of the law.
Local media speculation is pointing towards former SHIELD agent and now mercenary Brock Rumlow.